Okay, now let's go through renal physiology MCQs, and this is part 3 of this video series. Find time to watch part 1 and part 2. So part 3, we're going to start from question 21. So question 21 reads, arrange the following substances in descending order of their clearance. So CR simply stand for creatinine and PAH stand for para-aminobutyric acid. Okay, so A, we have para-aminobutyric acid is greater in clearance, followed by inulin, urea, creatinine, and glucose. So before we answer this question, we need to understand the clearance of these substances. So the clearance of a substance is greater than that of inulin if it is filtered and secreted from the bloodstream into the renal tubules. Okay, that is, if it is secreted and it is also filtered by the glomerulus, then its clearance is greater than that of inulin. But if it is secreted, if it is filtered and reabsorbed, then that substance will have a clearance which is lower than that of inulin. So when you look at these substances which are here, PAH is filtered and secreted, therefore its clearance is greater than that of inulin. When you come to creatinine, it is also filtered in the glomerulus and it is also secreted. Some of it is secreted, so we can say that it is greater than that of inulin. But if you look at urea and glucose, urea can be filtered and it can also diffuse or reabsorb back into the bloodstream. Okay, so these substances which are reabsorbed, their clearance is less than that of inulin. So for this question, C is the correct answer. PAH has greater clearance than creatinine because PAH is almost 100% secreted by the kidney. Creatinine, some of it remains in the bloodstream, and then inulin, okay, it is secreted, but it is filtered, not secreted, so its clearance is less than that of creatinine, which is secreted and filtered. Then from there we have urea followed by glucose, and then glucose it is 100% reabsorbed, so it is never secreted by our bloodstream. So the correct answer for question 21 is C. So question 22, the tubular transport maximum for glucose in a healthy young man is about A, 100 milligrams per minute, B, 225 milligrams per minute, and C, 375 milligrams per minute, D, 500 milligrams per minute. So which one among these is the tubular transport maximum? The maximum point at which glucose is saturated is 375 milligrams per minute. So the correct answer for question 22 is C. So we move on to question 23. So for question 23, the question 23 reads, if urine sodium concentration is equals to 100 millimolar and plasma sodium is 140 millimolar, urine creatinine concentration is 100 milligrams per deciliter, and serum creatinine is 1.4 milligrams per deciliter, and urine flow rate is 2 mils per minute. Then fractional excretion of sodium is approximately A, 0.1%, B, 0.5%, C, 1%, and D, 2%. So to find the fractional excretion of sodium, we first need to find its clearance. We calculate the clearance of sodium and then from there we calculate the clearance of creatinine. And then from there we divide the clearance of sodium over the clearance of creatinine. Then from there we multiply it by 100, then we get a percentage. So to do that, we have a formula here, which is the fractional excretion of sodium is equals to the concentration of sodium in urine multiplied by the concentration of creatinine in plasma divided by the concentration of sodium in plasma multiplied by the concentration of creatinine in urine. Remember, this formula comes from the two formulas. We have combined the formula for creatinine clearance over the formula for sodium clearance over the formula for creatinine clearance. Then the overall formula, the simplified formula, is this formula here. Okay, so if you want, you can calculate the clearance of sodium, then after that you calculate the clearance of creatinine, then you divide the two and multiply it by 100, then you get your answer. But in this simplified formula, this is what we use. Okay, so our urine sodium concentration was 100 millimolar in this question. So sodium urine concentration was 100 millimolar. So don't worry about the units, they are going to cancel in the formula. Okay, and then from there, creatinine concentration in plasma, it was 1.4 milligrams per deciliter, and divided by plasma sodium concentration is 140 millimolar multiplied by creatinine concentration in urine, which is 100 millimolar per deciliter. So we are going to have the numerator will be 140 over 1 or 14,000. Then that will give us 0.01. Taking it into percentage, it is going to be 1%. So the correct answer is C. Question 24. So question 24 reads, in a healthy individual with a normal renal plasma flow, in which segment of the nephron would the concentration of PAH be the least? A. Proximal convoluted tube. B. Thin descending limb of Henle. C. Thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. And D. Cortical collecting duct. So in a healthy individual with a normal renal plasma flow, in which segment of the nephron would the concentration of para-aminohippuric acid be the least? So let's look at these segments of the nephron and see what happens in each segment. So from the glomerulus there, we have the proximal convoluted tubule here. So in the proximal convoluted tubule, we are going to have, there is absorption of water and also ions. So there, the concentration here, it is kept constant. It is similar to what is in the glomerulus. But when you go down in the descending loop of Henle, here we only have water leaving the tubule. So we expect the concentration here to increase. As you ascend here, the water permeability will be reduced. Okay, this segment here, the ascending limb, is impermeable to water, only solids are leaving, so this segment is diluting. Okay, we are going to have solids leaving the tubule there. Okay, so what happens there is that the concentration is reducing, but for PAH we do not have channels which conduct PAH there, so we expect it to be the same as here. Then as we go there, what happens is that in the distal convoluted tubule, we also have solids leaving, and we also have in the principal cells, if we do not have a hormone which stimulates the reabsorption of water, then everything stays the same. Okay, so meaning that implies that in the proximal convoluted tubule, the concentration of PAH will be least. Okay, it will be least. Why? Because in the proximal convoluted tubule, that's where we have that's where we have solutes leaving and water also is leaving. So meaning what will happen is that the PAH there will be least, and mostly that PAH that's where it is being excreted. But as you go down, here the pH is increasing, here it is also the same, and then when you go there in the distal convoluted tubule, here it must reduce. But on our choices here, we do not have the distal convoluted tubule, we only have the thin descending and thin ascending, and also the cortical collecting duct. So in the collecting duct, in the normal circumstances, the channels for water are not there unless if a hormone is unless under the condition or under the effect of a hormone, we only have aquaporin 3 and 4 on the basolateral membrane, not in the apical. In the apical, we do not have, unless if a hormone is produced, then the aquaporins will be there. So we expect the concentration to be the same there. So, but in the proximal convoluted tubule, the PAH, the concentration will be least. Okay, so the correct answer is A. Question 25. Autoregulation of GFR is achieved through changes in A. Renal perfusion pressure, B. Renal blood flow, C. Glomerular afferent arteriolar resistance. So the correct answer for question 25 is C. Okay, for regulation of GFR is regulated by glomerular afferent arteriolar resistance and efferent. Okay, so the afferent resistance and efferent resistance affects the GFR, not the renal blood flow and renal perfusion pressure. Okay, so the autoregulation where we have our regulation, it is mostly achieved through the changes in the afferent and efferent. Okay, that's how GFR is autoregulated. Okay, renal perfusion pressure is sensed, then from there what will happen is that the stretch in the arterioles, especially in the afferent arterioles, will cause the autoregulation, which will result in either dilation or constriction of the afferent arteriole. Okay, but now the autoregulation itself is achieved through the resistance in the afferent and arteriolar resistance. The correct answer is C. Question 25. In a healthy adult human with a resting BP or blood pressure averaging about 110 per 70 millimeter mercury, who is not on any medication, the earliest mean arterial pressure at which renal autoregulation of GFR is overwhelmed is when mean arterial pressure falls below A. 30 millimeter mercury, B. 50 millimeter mercury, C. 70 millimeter mercury, and D. 90 millimeter mercury. So at which earliest mean arterial pressure will autoregulation of GFR be overwhelmed? So remember, autoregulation is maintained between 110 and 70 in this individual. So if it falls below 70, then the autoregulation will be overwhelmed. We will need extra regulators to come in and bring that mean arterial pressure or BP to come to normal. If it goes above 110, then other extra regulators will come in. Okay, but under autoregulation of GFR, it should be maintained between 110 and 70. Okay, but if it falls below, then other extra, then that means it is overwhelmed. Okay, is overwhelmed if it falls. So meaning if it falls below 70, not 90. So if it falls below 90, it still be within the same range. Then below 50, that is too much, and 30. So immediately it falls below 70, then we know that autoregulators are now overwhelmed. We need extra help from other regulators, other regulations, such as the release of ADH and also activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and the angiotensin or the RAS system will come in. Okay, so the correct answer here is C. Question 27. In an individual with normal renal function but with fluctuations in glomerular filtration rate of 10% around a mean GFR of 100 mL per minute, fractional reabsorption of sodium and chloride in which segment of nephron is selectively constant? A, proximal tubule. B, we have thick ascending limb of Henle. And C, we have distal convoluted tubule. And D, cortical collecting duct. So if we have a fluctuation of 10% around the mean glomerular filtration rate of 100 mL per minute, okay, so the fractional reabsorption of sodium and chloride is relatively constant in which segment of the nephron? Okay, so the correct answer for question 27 is A. A is the correct answer. So it will be constant in the proximal tubule. Okay, the segment in which it will be constant, it will be in the proximal tubule. Okay, so what happens is that if we have a change here, a 10% change in the glomerular filtration, here it will be constant, it will be just the same there. It will be just the same. Okay, fractional absorption of sodium and chloride will be just the same here. That change will come and be affected here, and then from there in the distal convoluted tubule it will be sensed by the macular denser cells. Okay, so here in the proximal, the reabsorption of sodium and chloride will be the same. Then once here it is detected, the hormones which are sent affect normally the distal and the collecting duct. Hormones such as ADH and aldosterone, they affect these guys here. Okay, we also have angiotensin which also affect here, but what the question is asking us is that the reabsorption of sodium and chloride will be relatively constant where in the proximal convoluted tubule. So question 27, the answer is A. Question 28, the rate limiting step in the biosynthesis of angiotensin 2 is the secretion of A, renin, B, angiotensinogen, and C, angiotensin 1, D, angiotensin 2. So the correct answer here is renin. Renin is the limiting step in the biosynthesis of angiotensin 2. So what happens is that renin will be produced and then it will convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. So if renin is not produced, then angiotensinogen won't be converted to angiotensin 1, and then angiotensin 1 won't be converted to angiotensin 2. So the limiting step is renin. Mostly we inhibit renin, then the system will be inhibited. So the correct answer is A. Question 29. Renin in the circulation originates mainly from A, macula densa, B, juxtaglomerular cells, C, type 1 medullary interstitial cells, and D, peritubular capillaries. So renin in circulation originates from the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay, so here we have the macula densa here, they are in the distal convoluted tubule, then followed by the messenger cells. Then from the messenger cells in the afferent arteriole, that's where we have the glomerular cells. Those are the cells which produces renin. Okay, so this is what we call the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, so the juxtaglomerular apparatus, renin is produced by the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay, so the correct answer is B. Question 30. The substrate for renin is A. Angiotensinogen, B. Angiotensin 1, C. Angiotensin 2, and D. Bradykinin. So the correct answer here is A. The substrate for renin works on angiotensinogen. It converts it to angiotensin 1. Later on, angiotensin 1 will be converted to angiotensin 2. So the correct answer for number 30 is A. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like if you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and leave your comment please concerning this video in the comment section below.